Question, if you want a pet, why not get a dog? Or just a little sort of cat? Why would you have a snake? Well, snakes are cool. I don't get it, mate. It's a bit odd. I'm gonna leave. Did I not articulate my point? Snakes are cool. No, I said that pretty clearly. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. Sometimes as snake keepers, we get asked the question, why would you keep a snake? And it's occasionally difficult to articulate what it is that draws us to snakes. So in this video, I'm going to try to dive a little bit deeper than just saying snakes are cool and try to explain what maybe attracts us to this particular type of animal. This will be helpful if you keep snakes and have a hard time explaining it to people. And it might be helpful if you're one of those people that are just wondering, why would you keep a snake? And as a bonus, at the end of this video, I'm going to cover reasons people keep snakes that are not good reasons. This is Lucille, by the way, a snake that I choose to keep for whatever reason. And behind the camera is my brother Kent. Hi. Who, if you remember, has his own snake now, but he doesn't keep that snake. I do. I keep away from that snake because I value my life. My dad used to have a saying that went, if you keep snakes, you'll surely be dead. Listen to me, for I am your dad. Kent, I think you're forgetting that he's my dad too. He has never said anything like that before. He said it when you weren't there. I think he'd probably come up with a better rhyme. Now, even though Kent's our cameraman, he's never learned anything about snakes. And I think for a lot of people who used to be afraid of snakes, they learn a few things about them and they start to like them. They get over their fear and then they learn a little bit more and they start to like them more. And then all of a sudden it's one of their favorite animals. And so they end up keeping a snake because they just love snakes so much, which is a great explanation, but it doesn't really explain the draw to people that don't share your fascination of snakes. When people think about keeping a pet, they usually think about keeping a dog or a cat and the experience that you have when you keep a common mammal like that, a dog or a cat, the companionship of it. So a lot of times, subconsciously, when people are asking, why would you keep a snake? They're thinking, snakes aren't good companions. Why would you have, there's so many better companions and like cuddle buddies, than a snake. And they're right. The experience of keeping a snake is completely different than the experience of keeping a dog. I don't think there's anybody who goes, I want a best friend companion, so I got a snake. But then I noticed that Jeff over there got a dog, and why didn't I think of that? Because a dog seems like a much better companion than a snake. It is. If you're looking for a furry domesticated animal to be your pal, that's a completely different conversation than I think I want to keep a snake. Technically, a snake and a dog are both pets. They both fall under that category, but they serve a completely different purpose as far as the needs and the wants for the person that's getting the animal. This is like if somebody bought a Prius, a brand new Prius, put it in their driveway, and then their neighbor got a purple dune buggy with no doors. And the Prius guy is looking at his neighbor going, oh my gosh, how's he even going to get groceries home in that thing? It doesn't even have a trunk. And is it street legal even? And the dune buggy guy is looking at the Prius guy going, oh my gosh, he's going to totally get stuck in the surf when he tries to drive that thing on the beach in Mexico. Is that a good analogy? I think that was a good analogy. You get the point, right? I switched snakes. I've got Delilah here who is gaining her weight back nicely after laying a clutch of eggs last month. So I can explain to you my draw to snakes, and I've thought about this a lot lately. So maybe you'll find something in this that you can relate to. I'm a fan of animals, and I always talk to animals when I see them, whether it's a goat or a turkey or a squirrel, whatever. And I always try to make friends with all the animals, whether it's a animal that is actually my friend, like a dog, or an animal who's temporarily my friend, like that squirrel who was just getting some nuts out of my hand. Oh, look, you got a few. From that squirrel's perspective, he just wanted to get some of those peanuts so bad that he completely forgot that he wasn't supposed to trust humans. From my perspective, that squirrel is my best friend today. When I was a kid, my parents would subscribe to Ranger Rick magazine, and I'd always look through all the pictures in the magazine, and occasionally I'd read the words, but I'd go through those magazines over and over and over again, looking at all these animals. And my favorites were the monkeys, because they were so much like us, and the reptiles, because they were so unlike us. So it was polar opposite reasons. But I'd look at those reptiles and I'd be like, what is the deal with them? And that's kind of still what goes through my head with snakes. I'm always like, what is going on with them? So I keep snakes because they're fascinating to me. But let's break that down further. Figuring out some subtlety of body language in your snake is as exciting as teaching your dog or cat a new complex trick. Figuring out kind of how their brains work, or watching their brains work, especially outside of just instinct, is really interesting. And that's why target training a snake is fascinating. The fact that they will learn to follow and interact with the target because they know that that means that food is coming eventually. That's really cool. On the off chance that a snake will choose to curl up in my lap and fall asleep rather than crawling behind some furniture to sleep is really cool too. Now, if a cat or a dog does any of these things, it's not a big deal. But the brain structure and the thought process in a reptile is completely different than that of a mammal. So unlocking that kind of stuff is really cool. Also, this is a non-domesticated animal, which brings me to my next point. I'm building a trust relationship with a non-domesticated animal, which I think is incredible. Let's do a quick terminology review there. Non-domesticated is not the same as wild. Some people say, oh, you've got a wild animal there, you should put them back where they belong. And the truth is that captive hatched and raised snakes would not last very long in the wild. Imagine Delilah here trying to blend in with her surroundings. Plus, she's never known anything of predators. She's never had to use her teeth for anything but food, so she doesn't really know how to defend herself. I'm sure she would if it came up, but she wouldn't be very good at it. I don't think she'd last an hour in the West African scrub brush. Now, some people do keep wild-caught snakes. I do not. My snakes are all captive hatched, most of them for many, many generations. My closest to wild is Stella here, whose grandparents were wild-caught Kalatoa Island reticulated pythons. She is second generation, making her an F2. That means that she is second generation captive hatched, and she's in shed, so she's not coming out of her Lagavulin box. Let me put her back. So anyway, not wild, but not domesticated. Domestication technically happens over thousands of years. Dogs, cats, farm animals have been domesticated for thousands of years. Those are really the only animals that we consider domesticated. It started, as far as we know, with the Mesopotamians about 10,000 years ago, domesticating farm animals. Chickens are domesticated. Your parakeet is not. So I've got an animal here that I can't say is domesticated, but I can say it's tame, which I think is incredible that I have a trusting relationship with this girl where if I did encounter any of my snakes in the wild, their fight or flight response would kick in and they would be out of there, or they'd be biting or whatever. And here they look at the giant scary monkey that feeds them sometimes as somebody that they can trust. And even though sometimes I might annoy them by checking on them or whatever, they know that I'm not going to hurt them, which is pretty cool. It's a totally different relationship than I would have with a dog. Nobody should be saying, I wanted a dog, but I got a corn snake instead. A corn snake, or any kind of snake, is not going to give you the love and affection that a dog is going to give you. And a dog doesn't give me the deep dive, fascinating look into the behavior of an exotic animal that snakes give me. Dogs are loving and furry and cuddly, which brings me to my next point. But it's not cuddly, which is sort of true. Let's talk about the tactile experience of holding a snake. And we'll use Freya here for this example. When I hand somebody a snake for the first time, a lot of times the thing that they say is, whoa, it's not slimy, which is true. You're thinking of amphibians. Reptiles in general do not produce slime, which I think is a plus for them. The next thing that people say is, whoa, it feels awesome. And it does. This is not a furry, cuddling animal, but you can feel all their muscles moving. Now, I'm talking about pythons specifically. There are some snakes that are really fast and darty, but pythons are very slow moving. They're very careful about where they go, so they'll tongue flick on you and kind of go very lightly over your skin. But this muscle thing with these snakes actually feels really cool, and they can give you a real massage. This isn't like your cat taking its paw and like pushing on your back. But if you take a snake and put them on your shoulders like this. Now, I don't recommend with, depending on your size and your capability, you don't want to put a giant snake around your neck. But for me, this snake is just fine on my shoulders. Now, The cool thing is that she can slide all over where she's touching my shirt, but where she's touching my neck, where her belly meets the skin of my neck, it's hard for her to move across it. So if she wants to move forward, she has to do like an undulating movement. And that's why you'll feel snakes doing that on your arm. They'll start undulating on your arm. They do it on your neck, but that's what gives you a massage. I realize that if you're a person who's freaked out by snakes, this all sounds terrible. This would be like if somebody was describing a spider to me and they were like, oh, it's like all their 8 little toes are typing a love note on your arm as they crawl up it. I'd be like, dude, stop talking now, please. But if you can separate from the fear a little bit and just ask yourself, do I like free massages? Spiders can't give you a massage. They're not strong enough. Ease of keeping. Now, this should not be the main reason that you get a snake, but I want to put this category in here because it's a good point, and it's the reason that the green room is a snake room and not a general reptile room. That's because snakes don't eat daily meals. Some don't even eat weekly meals. Freya here eats every other week right now because she's not quite in breeding season yet. So I can go out of town for a few days and all my snakes are just fine with me gone for a few days. Because of their very slow metabolism, snakes don't defecate very often. Freya here had a poop for me in her tub this morning, and the one before that was 5 weeks ago. So about every 5 or 6 weeks for Freya. Now, I love lizards, and I would love to keep all kinds of species of lizard, but they require daily maintenance and daily feeding, and I just go out of town way too often to have to manage that. That's why you're watching Green Room pythons and not Green Room general reptiles and various animals. I keep my enclosures clean, so there's no smell from my enclosures, and snakes don't really produce a smell. Maybe there are some species that do, but pythons don't. There's no smell here. So if somebody were to walk into the green room and not look around, they would not be able to tell that there's any animal that lives here. I have 22 snakes in this room right now, and you would not be able to tell. Imagine if I had 22 hamsters. That would be a nightmare. Imagine if I had a couple cats. Everything, I'd be like, why does everything smell like a kitty litter box? Before we get into some not so good reasons to have a snake, let's find out what's happening in Kent's Corner. Hi, welcome to Kent's Corner, your favorite thing to watch on a screen ever. Today is very exciting because I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why you might work for a snake company. There are only 2 possibilities. Number 1, you're super stupid. And number 2, your mom recklessly made you go to work for your brother when you didn't even want to. But Kent, you're a grown man, right? Yeah? Mom can't make you do anything. Well, no, but she highly suggested it. But she didn't make you work here. She didn't, make me do it. But so that was the second of the 2 reasons that you listed, and you definitely don't fall into that category. So what was the first reason again? I was trying to remember. Never mind. No, I was just trying to remember. I know you had 2 things, and you know what? We'll go back and look at the tape. No, never mind. Thank you for watching Kent's Corner. Done. Just do your show. I'll be the cameraman. Let's talk about a few things that I think are not good reasons to own a snake, as we acknowledge the fine supporters who make up the secret society known as the Horde of Keepers, Thundercrack, over on Patreon. Number 1, I wanted a cat, but I watched Bob's video and it looks like snakes are easier. A snake is not going to provide you what you were looking for in a cat. And the reverse is true. Somebody that says, oh, I was looking into getting a snake and I was all ready to buy one, but then I got this free cat. Dude, put the cat down. There's a reason those things are free, Plus, it's not going to give you what you were looking for in a snake. No offense to cats. No offense to cats. LOL. JK cats. JK LOL. Let's get to this next board. I want a snake because I feel like I need an extra affectation. It's going to give me more attention and then I'll feel more confident as a person. Dude, just get a neck tattoo. I want a snake because I like freaking people out at the park. Same as the last one. Just get a neck tattoo. I got this snake because I saw this poor thing at the pet store sitting all by itself, and I was in line to purchase my kitty litter, and I thought, I don't think that I can leave this store without rescuing this snake by buying it. I think the best thing to do is just, buy your kitty litter online. Thanks so much to all those Patreon supporters and the channel supporter, Black Box Cages. You all are what's keeping this channel going. So for those of you who just can't wrap your head around why somebody would want a snake, You're just in your yard throwing a frisbee going, man, I can't believe Steve got a snake. This dog is way better. I think it's best if they can step out of their experience of owning a golden retriever, because admittedly, a golden retriever is a much better dog than a black-headed python. But my experience in keeping this black-headed python is totally different than having a dog. And by the way, ball python keepers, wait till you hold a black-headed python. They feel really weird. You feel so weird, Maya. You know that? And you move differently too. This is a totally different feeling, moving snake. Look at that snake. So cool. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.